Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Freed on Business. I'm dressed up as my tech executive today because we're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about data centers. It's the new sector. It's not really so new, but it's a high profile sector that's gotten a lot of talk today in the past few weeks. Because of the slowdown in all the other sectors, people are turning their focus to this capital infrastructure. It's a boon for the industrial brokers, and it's going to keep going. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors. As everybody knows, Warren Henry's been our sponsor for 13 years. The show's been on for 15. So Warren Henry's been there pretty much since the beginning. I want to thank Larry, Eric, Warren, Ismet, and the rest of the team over at Warren Henry for being such great partners in our show. Remember, if you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to go to Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, all the great cars, Audi, everything, all at their stores from Gainesville to Key West. And now on with the show. So data centers. Data centers have gone through lots of evolution. Today's data centers are getting bigger and demanding more and more power every day. And the data center electrical requirements are such that if you combine them with the rest of the requirements for our grid, such as the electric cars of the future, there's a real question mark as to whether or not there'll be enough energy. So as America continues to go green, and we've seen a dramatic reduction in coal-fired plants, for instance, in this country in the last 10 years, where will that power come from? They say it'll come from green energy, but green energy is an inconsistent source that's not readily deliverable, and it's much more expensive than the fossil fuels. So you're seeing the fossil fuel plants have longer extended lives. And the people that are looking to do the data center development are looking at all kinds of new creative solutions for their power. But let's just talk about a couple of these statistics about data centers before we really get into it. For instance, there are approximately 1,100 data centers worldwide. The top 20 countries for data centers are the United States with 5,400, Germany, a distant second with 522, the UK with 517, and China, believe it or not, only has 449 of these. The data centers consumed 55% more power year over year from 22 to 23. Amazing. Thanks to Cushman and Wakefield for that. And data centers account for 1 to 5% of greenhouse gas emissions, according to the Channel News of Asia. There's more and more data center data available. But the most important thing I think to talk about is the 10 largest data center market by megawatt. Includes Northern Virginia, Oregon, Phoenix, Dallas, and Columbus, and Atlanta. And why is that important? Because that's the concentration of where all the processing is happening. So the data center revolution is going on in these large metropolitan neighborhoods. But there will be more and more data center requirements in different submarkets. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the data centers are now going to new places and concentrating in new locations. I've been looking all across the country at this. And as the grid continues to be improved, the data centers will have access to the power. But the limited power is causing a constraint on some of the data center developments right now. But another constraint, something that's a lot quieter, is the lack of the ability to get the infrastructure, the actual components for the data center. The cables and other components are more and more difficult to find. As data center development and construction increases, the components are more difficult to get. And why do we need more data centers? Well, the AI revolution is going to increase by many folds the amount of data and amount of computing power that's needed. In addition to that, the locations are becoming fewer and far between because nobody wants to live next to one of these data centers. They hum all night. They suck electricity. they're just bad neighbors. And we haven't even talked about what the potential long-term effects of living next to a data center are, but we know what the impact of locating next to a transmission line is. And these data centers are all going to need new high power transmission lines. So the locations and the cost are going to be, in some cases, borne by the neighbors, by the people in the neighborhoods that they're locating in, and the electricity bills will go up. So my question to you is, do you want to see an increase in your utility bill to pay for the AI and the cloud computing and the keeping your pictures in the cloud? That's what this really is. We're talking about the cloud. So are we all going to pay for the cloud through our Apple subscriptions? Are we all going to pay for the cloud through increased electrical charges? I think it's a combination of both. And in some cases, you're going to see increase in utility demand by as much as 40%. That's what they're projecting in Georgia. And some of these data center users are pushing back on the utilities that are leaving the fossil fuels in place. Most of these big data center users, Apple, Google, Alphabet, they want to have green energy. They want to be surrounded by wind farms and solar farms. They don't want to see additional power plants built. And now another technology that's coming out is the small miniature nuclear power plants that they say could be able to power these data centers and the internal racks that they require without increasing greenhouse gases. And that's a new thing that folks are looking at as well. So as the power demand surges for the AI and just the general utilization of electric, how are we going to solve the problem? It's going to be multiple ways. It's going to be on-site power, where next generation data centers will be using in-place pre-allocated power. It'll be on-site power generation where existing power plants are repurposed for data centers. It will be new wind and solar solutions that are directly adjacent to the data centers. And so you find a location where there's a lot of capacity for green energy and the location does not have a lot of vibration and other intermittent disturbances that would cause the data center to have a fluctuation. It's not that easy to find anymore. So there's an incredible rush to find new locations and to make sure that the location is more profitable and more cost effective than competing data centers. And these data centers cluster together. They cluster together because of the power required and because the location demand for the different infrastructures, it all kind of crosses at the same place. Remember when I went and talked about the different locations? Well, Northern Virginia has always been a center for these cables since they began to be laid in the early days of fiber optics. Today, it's the center of all kinds of digital crossing. We have that in Miami at our what we call the NAP here, the central access point. And again, where it comes across from the Pacific. We talked about Oregon in the earlier in the segment. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with my final thoughts on data centers and the opportunity to invest in them after this message. Mr. Mendoza, it's yours. Hi, everybody. Jim Freed for Warren Henry. I want to thank Warren Henry for being a sponsor of our podcast for the last 12, going on 13 years. We're approaching episode, 765, Mr. Mendoza. So we want to thank Warren Henry for the longevity and for our ability to present our ideas to you And we love being a brand ambassador for Warren Henry. And I want to thank everybody at Warren Henry for working with us for all this time. Remember, if you want to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you want to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. They're all, that's it, 151st and Biscayne. They sell Audis in Gainesville. They have their award-winning Land Rover, Range Rover store. It's episode 766. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Their award-winning Land Rover Range Rover store in South Dade, their new Land Rover Range Rover store in West Broward. And of course, they've got all the great nameplates at their store in Key West. They're all great nameplates. They all come with Warren Henry Advantage. It makes you a member of the Warren Henry family. It gets you all kinds of bonuses at the service line, including a service loaner if you need it. They'll guarantee you get a great price on your trade-in, a great price on your new car or your leased car. It's just a wonderful place to do business. We've been going there for going on our third decade now as clients. So remember, join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian, lots of my clients and friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Freed. I'm the founder of Sandstone Realty Advisors. We provide capital and creative solutions to real estate investors and family offices around the country. I've worked with some of the biggest families and the biggest institutions, and I also work with the local community banks and some of the smallest borrowers. I treat everybody the same. I work to solve their problems and bring them peace of mind. So reach out to me, DM me, call me, and remember, whenever you reach out or call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
So today we talk about data centers. There's lots of benefits to developing for data centers. There's lots of challenges in doing the development for data centers. It's a great place to be. It's a market sector that's still very active and hot in real estate, given the slowdown in real estate. Now that we're in our sixth quarter of real estate recession, we're all looking for something new to work on. This is a new sector, but is the sector already over? The answer is in some places it is, and in other places it isn't. It's the usual answer for real estate. So you've got to make sure that the NIMBYs won't fight you. You've got to make sure that you've got the right capitalization. You've got to make sure that the infrastructure constraints won't bite you. It's not easy to get the infrastructure for this right now. And there are REITs involved in this. So take a look at some of the REITs that are doing business. The big companies for data are all over this. And one of the main constraints they have is that all these big companies are committed to net zero, but these data centers require lots of electricity, and they're very, very difficult to power without fossil. So green locations where they have infrastructure, where you have an existing data center developer as your client, that's what you're looking for. Those are the components. So remember, when you're doing data centers, make sure you've got a good, experienced client, that they have the capital and the ability to access the infrastructure components to finish the deal. Remember, reach out to me, DM me. I work with family offices and high net worth investors and global companies to help them deploy capital and invest in real estate deals. Freed on Business will be on we drop a new podcast every Wednesday at noon. DM me, reach out to me, email me if there's a topic you'd like to talk about, or if you'd like to present your ideas to the people that we watch. We reach thousands and thousands of viewers every week on the podcast. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies. Congratulations to all the MSREs that are graduating this week. Most of them have jobs. If you have a need for a job, you need a smart young person, reach out to me, and I'll help you get connected with the Bergstrom Center so you can find your next real estate entry-level person. They're great. They're qualified. They're smart as a tack, sharp as a tack. Our other sponsors, of course, Warren Henry. I want to thank them for being sponsors for well over a decade. Thank you to Larry, Eric, Ismet, the rest of the team over at Warren Henry. They make me feel like family. My goodness, my mom, who's 84, 85, she just got her latest car at Warren Henry. They treated her like gold, made her feel like $1 million. My wife just got a car there as well. So bring your family, bring your friends, bring your clients. Warren Henry's a great place to be. Join us again next week at noon on Wednesday when we're going to drop our next podcast. Why? Because I just love doing this. And I want to thank you all for watching today. Remember, the person that wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, the rest of the show is yours.